Well, you'll know what to do with this. Sun's up, looks okay. The world survives into another day, and I'm thinking about eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. I had another dream about lions at the door. They weren't half as frightening as they were before, but I'm thinking about eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. Walls, windows, trees, waves coming through. You be in me and I'll be in you, together in eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. Up among the firs where it smells so sweet, or down in the valley where the river used to be, I got my mind on eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me, and I'm wondering where the lions are. 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 You're doing great. Wondering where the lions are. Wondering where the lions are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huge orange flying boat rises off the lake. 1,000-year-old petroglyphs doing a double take, pointing a finger at eternity. And I'm sitting in the middle of this ecstasy. Young men marching, helmet shining in the sun, polished and precise like the brain behind the gun should be. They got me thinking about eternity, but some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. And I'm wondering where the lions are. Wondering where the lions are. Come on, keep it up now, you're doing wonderfully. Wondering where the lions are. Wondering where the lions are. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Wondering where the lions are. Wondering where the lions are. Freighters on the knot on the surface of the bay. One of these days we're gonna sail away. Gonna sail into eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. And I'm wondering where the lions are. Wondering where the lions are. Wondering where the lions are. Oh yeah, yeah, wondering where the lions are. Don't stop now. Da 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 wondering where the lions are.
All right, guys. Hi. That was beautiful. That was really beautiful. It went a little too fast, but it was just really wonderful. I'd like to say that, well, like I tried to say before, all of us came to ORMUS and came to Barrie from different directions, and that's, I think, would be a nice way to start today's gathering. And I was hoping that we could begin with Kip. He so kindly joined us this evening, and Kip is, well, now Kip's the oldest of the remaining siblings, and he probably knew Barrie as well as, and maybe better than, his other siblings. Kip, what can you tell us about your experiences with Barrie growing up?
Oh, quite a bit. Well, Let me take my glasses off so I don't have glare here.
Okay.
Barry and I shared a room forever. I mean, growing up, we had a room upstairs and bunk beds, and then when we remodeled the house, we shared a large room. And one of the things I remember about Barry that really sticks out is he was always reading. At one point, I had come to the conclusion that he'd read every science fiction book in the Kitty's library at the public library here. Because he'd be reading a book, he'd be sitting out on a lawn chair or something reading a book. I'd say, Barry, would you want this or that? He wouldn't hear me because he was involved in this book. And then, junior high, when I was in junior, he's 4 years older. In junior high, my dad was a junior high school teacher. He taught gymnastics, and then he had an archery shop also, and so he taught archery. Barry excelled at gymnastics. I did too. But I think Barry was probably just a little bit better than I was. If the fact that he did some incredible things on a diving board, and he was a really good swimmer, and he did stuff I wouldn't ever have attempted. Backflip with a half twist and this and that. I just off the high dive, and I don't know, it scared me. And then we had similar music tastes because I was in the room. He had the stereo, so he played it all the time. So I got interested in the music he was playing, from Bob Dylan to the band. Moody Blues was our favorite. The Beatles was our other favorite. I remember when he brought Abbey Road home, I was so excited. And we stuck it on side 2. I think we did play side 1 to find out that side 2 was a lot better. And so we played side 2 on his changer. We put it on repeat, and we played it over and over for, I don't know, maybe at least 2 months. It's just all the time. We just left it on whenever we were there. Also, Barry did archery to some degree. I probably competed in tournaments more than he did, but he definitely did archery, and Barry had quite an appreciation for the outdoors. We went on quite a lot of camping trips with Dad, and then later Barry and I remember one time we took his little Volkswagen Bug that barely ran up this mountain road to an old campsite that Dad and I had hiked into a few years earlier. And we barely made it. We scraped the oil pan on a big rock, and we managed to get in to the spot. And then Barry leveled out a spot for the tent. We set up a big tent, and we camped there. Later, when Barry was married to Susan, before she died, my girlfriend and I and Barry and Susan went on a backpacking trip to a high mountain lake. That was a lot of fun. I'll check my notes here, make sure I'm not leaving anything out. So my mom decided that she was eating poorly because she read a book on nutrition, and so she had a friend that was that had a 24 flavors ice cream store. He sold her all the equipment and basically the business, not the building, for like $1,000. And so all of a sudden we're in the ice cream business. I'm making ice cream, and we're converting the thing into a health food store. And so Barry and I got quite interested in diet and health. And the fellow who had the ice cream store he was in his mid 80s, and he had something called the Truth Public Library, which he had. Well, it was like full of spiritual books on reincarnation, meditation, self-enlightenment, anything spiritual. The Essene Gospel of Peace, whole whole bunch of stuff about Jesus. And I remember Barry bringing home Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. And he read them, and I got very interested in and read the books too. Really, really good books. And the Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, a whole bunch of others. Anyway, Barry was very, very interested in spiritual stuff. Our whole family was. All of us, 6 kids, and my mom, not my dad. My dad was like, you know, he wasn't sure about any of that, but he probably is now, because he's many years ago. I think he concluded we were right, that we're spiritual beings inhabiting bodies, and that we live multiple lifetimes. So anyway, Barry always was into helping people. He really enjoyed helping people. And I'm sure that you've seen that with his with the ORMUS community. I bought a house out of high school, and Barry moved in with me, and we decided we were going to remodel this thing from a duplex into a triplex, and then remodel the other 2 apartments too. It was more than I could do, but Barry taught me a lot of carpentry skills. I mean, we both had wood shop and stuff in high school, but he taught me quite a bit, and I was building a cabinet or 2 in the building there. Eventually, my parents bought it because it was just a money pit. It was so much money to remodel 3 apartments, and so we continued remodeling the thing. But I got to reciprocate later, because I became a cabinet maker, and I had multiple cabinet shops over the years. And the last one I had in Portland, Barry called me up and wanted to come down. I was just moving into the new shop and, you know, setting up the shop. And Barry said he wanted to come down and pick my brain. So, okay, you know, I picked his brain earlier in life. It's his turn. So I told him how I built cabinets. I showed him everything I knew virtually. And he became a cabinet maker. And, man, he went on to do just some incredible stuff. He did the entryway, the whole office of Nelson Realty here in Baker City, which is the largest, still is the largest real estate company under new ownership in Baker. And he did that. And then when he bought his house, he put a foundation under it, put super insulation in it, a double wall, one of the cheapest houses to heat anywhere around, very cheap, and put a solarium on it. And he did incredible woodwork in there. The accuracy, I was very impressed with. He did all the finished carpentry and so forth. So then later, Barry became an environmentalist, and he would do lawsuits and stuff, contribute to lawsuits, and try to stop timber sales that were not environmentally sound, like you know, cutting old growth and stuff, which I really appreciated, because to me, the forests, yeah, multiple use, but for some reason, some people think that looking at them and enjoying them, the beauty of them, isn't one of them. I think that sometimes. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm a woodworker. I love wood. I even had a sawmill, but I still think that it needs to be done in a very ethical fashion, and that was what was a passion of Barry's. In 1996, I moved back to Baker from Portland, and I went to, Barry was in town in Portland, and he and a couple friends and I went to the David Hudson workshop, or not workshop, it was just a seminar, kind of an information meeting at the Mount Hood Community College. That was my real introduction to, you know, some of the larger aspects of ORMUS. Of course, Barry had been talking about it for a few years then, and I had met his friend Jim, and I'd seen some of the stuff that ORMUS did and so forth. Then Barry started phasing out of the environmental stuff after I got back here, after I moved back to Baker City. And he was doing more and more ORMUS stuff, and pretty soon that was all he was doing. He completely got out of the environmental work, and you guys know the rest of the story. Another thing that my dad taught us, other than archery and gymnastics, was puns. My dad, he wasn't anywhere near the punster that Barry is, but but he would always tell puns, and so I just followed suit, and I would tell puns, and Barry would tell puns, but Barry took it to a completely new level, and he sent me a few months before he died. He sent me a list of his puns. There were just hundreds of them. A lot of them I'd heard before. Many of them I'd heard before. A lot of them I hadn't heard before, and I thought were absolutely hilarious. Some of them were not very funny at all, but there was some really funny ones. And I was honored that he included many that I had invented on the site. I think he took some of them as his own, maybe, but after many years, it's kind of hard to remember who did them. So I went to the memorial and was kind of the MC of that last weekend, and Barry had a list, and so of what he called, see the title here, punography. And so I read that, and I'm going to read them today if you'd like.
Could you read a few of them where we're limited on time?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I tried to catch some fog. I missed. When chemists die, they bury them. Jokes about German sausage are the worst. A soldier who survived mustard gas and pepper spray is now a seasoned veteran. I know a guy who's addicted to brake fluid. He says he can stop any time. How does Moses make his tea? He brews it. I stayed up all night to see where the sun went. Then it dawned on me. This girl said she recognized me from the vegetarian club, but I'd never met her before. I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. I can't put it down. I did a theatrical performance about puns. It was a play on words. And the last one, they told me I had type A blood, but it was a typo. And a bunch more funny ones. So that's my story about Barry.
Kip, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. You really present Barry in a completely different light, and yet in some ways so perfect. It's the Barry that we know, the builder. He built this ORMUS movement,
Oh man.
And meticulous.
Man. We still can't figure out how he connected all those computers and stuff together.
Yeah, you still try to back do it, huh? Or undo it.
It's taken a week and a half so far, and we're still working on it.
Oh, everyone's thanking you, Kip. I don't know if you have the chat on, but they're all like laughing, and you just really launched this in the positive direction.
That's the way Barry would want it. He did. Mm-hmm. He told his puns because he wanted levity. He wanted people to not be so serious about life. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it's important that we don't need to be grieving and all this kind of stuff. Let's just keep it really on a happy note.
Happy.
Yeah.
Oh, Kip, thank you so much for joining us, and I know that you have work to do, but feel free to stay for as long as you can. I was going to say
thank
that
you so much.
Okay. Everyone's waving goodbye. After Barry started with ORMUS, I think what happened, and maybe somebody else has more information, but here's the information that I have. It was in the mid to late 90s when he became aware of Ormus, and a friend of Barry's sent him an audio tape from David Hudson's, one of his seminars, and Barry just didn't listen to it, and the friend just kept saying, you have to listen to it, you have to listen, kept calling, and finally Barry listened to it. And the funny thing is, it sounded very much like the experiences that his other friend Jim had with the, we could call it an accident, environmental accident, when he was attempting to transmute the toxic metals into a non-toxic form. Jim didn't know that what he was transmuting those toxic metals into was a form of Ormus, and the power that was there exploded. It contaminated Jim, and there's a story online on Barry's on the Subtle Energy site called Jim's Story. I would encourage everybody to read that. Also look up My Story on the Subtle Energy site. Those are going to give you the background of those early days when Barry first discovered Ormus. So he sent the audio to Jim, who was recuperating from heavy metal toxicity from this accident. And in the same way that Barry's friend kept harassing him to listen to the tape, Barry in turn had to tell Jim, listen to the tape. Jim was in Portland at the time, and eventually Barry just drove out. He thought it was so important that he drove out to Portland, and he found out that Jim didn't have a cassette tape recorder. So they drove around in Barry's car listening to the tape, and Barry always described it as Jim being a bobblehead, just sitting there and shaking his head, yes, and yes, and yes. From there, it was interesting that independently of David Hudson, people were discovering these properties. And one of the independent discoveries, of course, was from his friend Jim, but also from a fellow that we came to know as the Essene. Now, there are transcripts from those early conversations with the Essene. All you have to do is type in subtle energies in a search engine, and then Essene, and you'll find, and you can even add, if you want, transcripts. And you'll find some of these early transcripts there. Very, very interesting reading. And so Ormus was trying really hard to come out, to get into the public mind. Barry responded to that need and that message that needed to come out. I met Barry in 2001, met Ormus in 1995, met Barry in 2001. And he had already started, he'd worked in 1999. He combined his, there were about 6 people who met in Idaho that created the strategy. They were going to create a grassroots organization and effort to get the message of Ormus out into the world. And that's where it all began. 1999 is when they launched. And Barry took his jobs very seriously. Other people, maybe they did it the best that they could, but Barry was the long distance runner. And he built this movement and has served us for, 30 years practically? Yeah. So I'm going to pass the baton now to Thomas. I think Thomas is one of the very early people who came on to Barry and the message of Ormus. Thomas, can you tell us your story? We have about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. Thomas, are you there? All right, you need to unmute. Do you know how to do that?
Okay, there we go. I met Barry around 1998 or 1999. He came shortly after that and spoke at the WESAC celebration at Mount Shasta. And that's where where he brought, gosh, I don't even remember. He brought some physician who had a water trap, and when I got home, I ordered a water trap from Bob Winter, and it came pieces, and then I was pulling water.
We have some technical difficulties.
Seriously, and I mean you, because I don't know that I'd know any of you if it wasn't for Barry. The audio is chopping up here, and so does the video, so I expect everyone has similar problems.
It's saying your bandwidth is low, whatever that means.
My bandwidth?
Yes.
Okay. That's a beautiful sentiment. Thank you. So do you want to try to continue, or shall we move on?
That's really all I...
All righty. You know, Mark Hudson, wait, yes, Marla? Okay. Who came on the scene early? Art? Mark? Peter, when did you find Barry and Ormus?
It was about 2003, 2004. My neighbor took me to Denver, and Barry taught us how to make ORMUS.
Could you say that again, Peter?
Yeah, Barry taught us how to make ORMUS in Denver about 2003 or 2004. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Yes, I heard. So, what got you hooked on Ormus?
Did you hear that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I'd heard about it in the 90s, but I never got introduced to it until Barry taught us in person.
Oh, that was wonderful. So you have a community, an Ormus community in Denver? No? All righty. Who do we have here? Dennis? You came on in about 2004, didn't you? 2003? 2003?
It was about 2004, 2005, somewhere in that area. Can you guys hear me? Just nod if you can. Nodding. Let's see. Okay, great. So I can just talk? Okay, good. So basically, I had been hearing about this white powdered gold for years, and I'm going, oh, I've just got to find out about that stuff. And then I was gifted by this extraordinary woman in my life called Dr. Jennifer Hunter. And she said, this is amazing stuff. And I had already ordered some white powdered gold from whitepowdergold.com, and I got this little vial. By the time I got it here to Australia, it was about $90. And I used to test everything on the scale of consciousness that's found in a book called Power versus Force. Now, for those of you guys who don't have that book, this is a must have. And the interesting thing is that after I'd shared it with about 2 people, it was like half it was gone. I'm going, this isn't doing anything. And then another friend of mine, alchemist, sort of metaphysician, said, why don't you make an essence of it? And showed me the homeopathic technique of making the essence of something. And it calibrated on the conscious scale as high as the original product. I went, huh? How could that be? It turns out that most of us have discovered already that ORMUS has a hugely vibrational quotient, potency. And So then Dr. Jen taught me the wet method, and I started joining the ORMUS forums, and it was from joining the ORMUS forums that Sharon would sometimes come on and ask for funds so Barry could go to the dentist or something like that. So then one day I rang Barry and I said, I've got this brilliant idea for you. And I downloaded this idea of speaking to the best alchemists in the community, people like Thomas Geckler. And I said, you could do these interviews and charge $5 per listen. And he said, great idea, Dennis. Why don't you do it? I just took myself into an unpaid job. Now, the funny thing is that I did it every month, sometimes twice a month, for 5 years. It's really, it became my public service, yeah? And the funds raised would go to Barry's fund. I still, anytime someone sends PayPal contribution to Barry Carter at his address, I get the alert still. And there's this massive inheritance that I got because everyone in the ORMUS community, anyone who is anyone, I got to talk to them for about an hour, usually, before the interview, teaching them on how to speak WIIFM to them. Most didn't know, because everyone IFM, what's in it for me? And I got to learn extraordinary amount about ORMUS. And as Thomas will tell you, ORMUS is not the precipitate. ORMUS is this spirit. ORMUS is this vibration. ORMUS is this je ne sais quoi, as the French would say, I know not what. ORMUS is the spirit.
Dennis, one more minute.
All right, sweet. I can do it in 1 more minute.
Cool.
And that essence of je ne sais quoi, that uplift is what ORMUS is. And in many ways, that gift that Barry shepherded, that brought to us, is the gift that we take now to the international community. That gift of literally the angelic realm, I have found, comes through ORMUS because it's a really easy way for them to be present in people's lives. And so I thank Barry extraordinarily, and I thank all of you guys that I know for that gift in my life.
Oh, yes, yeah. Dennis. Group hug. Group hug. Oh, thank you, Dennis. That was wonderful. And we have, Peter May. Is Arthur, can Arthur talk or I know he's on a phone, it looks like. Arthur, you've known Barry for quite a while, correct? Arthur, are you there? Okay.
He's unmuted. He unmuted himself, or someone unmuted.
Yeah.
I unmuted him.
Okay, so we're going to move to Kevin Hay. Can you tell us when your life intersected with ORMUS and Barry Carter? And
what happened for me is I sort of found this a different pathway. I was provided the scalar interferometry, the physics, through a reaction that I had personally, and I found the words water, gold, and electrogravity coupled together as the same reaction. So through a very, very quick image search through Google, because I'm a speed reader and I have a somewhat photographic memory, I went through several thousand images very, very quickly, and I came across one that I'd seen previously, which showed water flowing through a pipe, a plexiglass pipe. And this directly related to an article that Barry had written relating to the ORMUS elements. What I had seen at a friend's place, they were calling phytoplankton. And I was expecting, something marines type algae-like, something that had a little color to it. And when my friend opened their fridge, I was looking at a mason jar full of this milky white liquid. And I actually had my first out-of-body experience at that time. I floated out just momentarily, slightly above myself, and then I slammed back in. And I'm telling you, I looked at my friends and I said, "That's not phytoplankton. I don't know what it is. I know what it is, but I don't have the name for it." I had to leave their house because I was overwhelmed with information. So what I started doing was to investigate this through the technical atomic transitions, the scalar interferometry that Nikola Tesla discussed and could not elaborate on because it was far beyond the comprehension of most people. Basically, what we need to do is understand electrostatic functions, these functions that we learn as children, where we start to learn about polar magnetism. Through polar magnetism, we can understand the inductive functions inside molecular and atomic cohesion, which allow us to understand refraction and inverting polar functions. Once we understand refraction and inversion polar functions, we can learn about compression. Through compression, we can learn about condensation of force functions. So what I learned through ORMUS was these materials are atomic capacitors. Basically, this is why they exist as the noble metal group. All noble metals are electromagnetic inductive elements, being an interferometric molecular structure that allows the molecule basically to split the gravitational torsion value of our momentum through space and quantify a square of force reaction, which is basically what the relative function that Einstein postulated as his own represents.
Kevin, I love your dissertation on all of this. I was just wanted to remind you that you have just one more minute. So. Oh,
certainly. So my investigation was led. I didn't follow any spiritual or metaphysical pathway through this. I followed a force reaction that allowed me to utilize and understand a scalar derivative as a transition function, something that we can use to augment and alter matter, cellular inversions. We can basically invert any type of electromagnetic frequency or function simply through an understanding of these basic scalar functions of our momentum through space. And that's where I learned how these materials, once I started taking these materials myself, I found the information opened up just like a radio antenna, just like a transceiver. I opened myself up to the information, and then I was shown methods, not just to discuss it, but to test this, which is the most important thing. Test and utilize and gain tertiary reactions from these. So basically, we have an avenue for agricultural production. We have an avenue for cellular healing. We have an avenue for electrogravitational propulsion. And if you do a name search on Google, electrogravitational propulsion, and my name, you'll start to see what I understand ORMUS to be. A method of learning and utilizing square force reactions in bioelectricity, in planetary electricity, universal galactic torsion interferometry. And there's a lot to go in this. I mean, this is all moving into classified information and data now. So yeah.
I agree so much, and I loved what you said about the information just came, and that's what it's always been. I'm not a scientist, but as a mystic, my experience is that ORMUS has been, it's a download, and you get it at whatever level you can get it, and you've got the brain to get it the brainiac way. And
the nice thing for me is I've been shown methods, and this group talk is very difficult for me because what I need to do is tailor my conversation to an individual's background. if you're an atomic physicist,
And
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
going to
ask
talk
you
about
guys-
agriculture.
We're going to have more time in the next hour to really get into this.
Excellent.
And all you guys know, there's lots of excitement coming, so we'll have lots of conversations, but we don't, I'm looking at the time. I want to ask everybody to keep it short so that we can get to the next hour, and we will have more time to
we'll
talk
go to the next person.
talking about Kevin. Yeah.
I could talk for hours, so.
Yeah, and you know what, Kevin? We're going to give you the opportunity to talk for hours. We are. So,
Mickey, you've been around a long time. What brought you to ORMUS?
yeah, or do you, hold on. Hold on.
Yes.
I don't see a Nikki.
Hold on.
Is that
No, don't do it. I will do it.
Ah, Mickey, yeah.
how's that? I had studied.
Yay!
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome, Mickey.
Oh, I have to take a deep breath. It's lovely to see everyone. I wish it were for a much nicer reason. But at the point when I met Barry, he was the herald of the biggest change in my whole life. And that's because at that moment, I had just met my husband, my current husband. And so ORMUS came into my life like a wave. And the whole of the rest of my life rode in on that wave as it crashed, because I found love, I changed countries, I found paradise, and ORMUS. But the first thing it did was, when I took it, I was very afraid to take it. I kept reading it, and I wouldn't buy any. And I kept reading it. I talked to Barry. I talked to loads of folks. But I was so afraid. I knew this was big, but I couldn't understand how or why. So I waited. And at one point, I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to try this stuff. But when I did, all of a sudden, a lot of very unpleasant things started to happen in my life. And it scared the heck out of me. So what I did was I immediately stopped taking it. And I had a talk with myself. And I said, okay, this is it. This is where the rubber meets the road. All that stuff you shouldn't be doing and all that stuff you should be doing, the time has come. You have to clean up the chart. I'm an astrologer. And you have to clean up all of those negative aspect things that were going on that you neglected. Do what you can to do what you should. And that's what I did. And then immediately after that, I started taking the ORMUS again. And then all this wonderful stuff started to happen. So I had to really clean up my act before I dove into the world of ORMUS. And Barry was so patient. I was kind of freaked out and I wasn't sure I understood what it was all about. And he was he could talk like Kevin Hay, he could talk all of the scientific stuff. I love physics and I love all of that stuff, but it takes me a while to get into it. So he was patient. He kept explaining what it was. He kept trying to reassure me that I could do it too, that I could make my own, et cetera, et cetera. And that took a little while too. I waited a couple of years before doing that. But he had the scientific credentials and knowledge, but he had the human touch. And it was a lovely combination. Everyone I met absolutely adored him right away. I mean, his spirit hugged you when it met you. And that made everyone feel at home. So this was back in 2000, January 2000. A couple of months in, just before January, but officially as of January 2000, I was suddenly thrown into that whole world of the ORMUS forums. And we all met each other then. That's when I met Sharon, when I met everybody. So watching this come to the point where we are today, or tonight, has been a real roller coaster. I learned a lot. I learned about generosity. I learned about science. I learned about how to be part of a very important development in the history of the planet.
Mhm.
And although most are unaware of it right now, I am so aware of what we're in the start of. And so therefore, I'm just as committed as we are all beginning to really be as a force, because we have stuff to do. So I love being here with all of you. I'm sorry that Barry chose the way he did to bring us all together, but it works, and I know he's here tonight.
Nikki, I so appreciate you. You know, one of the things that was very wonderful about Barry that doesn't get mentioned very often is that when you and I joined the White Gold list, it was almost entirely men, and very pro-female. And so he spent time with the women, and I helped him create his workshops and his presentations so that they weren't all scientific and, you know, totally left brain. And it was, he encouraged me. I know he encouraged you. He encouraged other women. And so here we have, you know, 3 wonderful women on this panel, and we're in good company.
He was so comfortable with women.
I don't want to take away from the men. There's a lot of men with a lot of feminine attributes, and I think that the ORMUS and what Thomas has shown us through some of the pictures that he's taken is ORMUS brings hemispheric synchronization to the brain, and that's what we all need. I need to cut you off a little bit unless you have something else to say.
No.
Okay. We need to move on. We have 2 more people that I can think of. Art, and we're going to end with Mark. And I see somebody in the lower corner. Marla, can you tell me if this is a panelist? We have, I can't even pronounce the letters. Julius?
Yeah, we did that name.
No. Okay, well, let's move on to Art Tarby. Art is one of the people who came about. Very, very, very few of us came to ORMUS. Would somebody mute yourself? Marla, can you mute?
Someone's got background noise.
I don't think that Art can speak.
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
There's somebody's got something going on in the background.
Not directly through Barry, so this is one of the unusual stories. Go ahead, Art. Tell us.
Well, actually, it was a woman that brought me to ORMUS, and I was working down in Palm Springs with a Rife machine, doing research. With the Rife machine, and was open to anybody that could come in that wanted to take sessions with the Rife machine was welcome to. And this older Greek woman wandered in and took one look at me and said, "You can do ORMUS." And I said, "What the heck is ORMUS?" And she's very, very clairvoyant, and she just kind of knew that I would resonate with it or something. So after we did a Rife session, she took me over to her place, and on her table, she whipped up a batch and precipitated out ORMUS. And I said, "Oh, I kind of remember that stuff." And it turns out she was a partner of the Essene. So she had lived with him and nursed him back to health, and had all these stories about all the things that they would do to precipitate out what method ORMUS, to bring him back to health and just to have it on hand and make it available for people in their neck of the woods. And so that was just my introduction to ORMUS. And so I kind of ran with it. And because I have a background in Ayurveda, within Ayurveda is a science called Rasa Shastra, which deals with minerals as medicine, not herbs, but minerals. And not so much the physical part of the mineral, but the etheric part of the mineral, because the Rasa Shastra medicines have an instantaneous effect. It's not like it went through the digestive system and got distributed through the blood system and all that. It's just bang, it's there. And so that's kind of outside the realm of normal chemistry. So it all started to start pulling into my conscious awareness memories from long ago and far away. And then I found subtle energies and called Barry, and Barry and I had many long discussions from mild to wild, so to speak, from the from the most materialist perspective possible to the most out there, etheric, energetic perspective possible, and everything in between. And then I met him at the ORMUS Fest in North Hollywood. Anybody remember what year that was?
I don't know, 2011?
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we, would communicate. I would find something, I'd call him, and we'd talk about it, and he'd say, oh, that sounds like this, and he'd dig up some reference that I'd go run down, and then I'd come up with something else. And, we just kind of volleyed back and forth like that for some time.
Art, I love what you said about the absorbing those qualities and those nutrients not through the digestive system. And, the discussion about whether ORMUS is a substance or an energy. I mean, I can feel it the moment it enters my mouth. It's not like it has to be digested, before I feel it. So I'm going to be very interested to hear what you have to say in future conversations. Thank you for contributing. Did you have more?
Well, my research has led me through Ayurveda into Siddha medicine, which is the superset out of which Ayurveda arose, which is even more mineral-based. But before the Ayurveda got into Mercury kind of took over, but this is well before the whole Mercury thing.
Okay.
So my research into that is ongoing, and there's a lot of stuff that I'll share. I'll share when the time comes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Art. It's good to see you again. We're going to end this segment with Mark Hudson. Yes? Okay. Mark Hudson. Now, Mark, did anyone ever pick up those occasional hints that Barry was spending time with David Hudson on the forums? Okay, he would drop hints. Apparently, Mark has a son named David. And so it was Barry's little joke that he was spending time with David Hudson. Mark is probably the only person besides Kip that had a personal relationship in Baker City with Barry Carter. And Mark, we are unfortunately at the end, and we're over time. So could you just drop a few of the jewels that you and Barry used to talk about?
Oh gosh, you mean stuff like Barry and I would talk about on a personal level?
Well, maybe some of the things that you think would be interesting for the community to know.
Yeah, share a story.
Okay, so I come at it from two different approaches. The Templars, the Ark of the Covenant, stuff like that, studies.
Can you speak up?
Yeah. Can you hear me? All right, how's that?
Better.
Is that good? Okay. I'm pretty scientific, but I'm also spiritual. So the Ark of the Covenant, the Templars, stuff like that. My family, their last name is related to some of that stuff. All right. Anyways, I had been studying Miff Kizzit and Lawrence Gardner with the Ark of the Covenant. And my son and I, we were into quantum physics and biolocation, time travel, stuff like that already. Okay, you know what I mean? All right. And I come across this Miff Kizzit word, and it was Egyptian. And I was like, I called up David. I'm like, hey, buddy, there's this guy with your name with some Egyptian magic stuff. And it was funny. So, I kind of dropped a little grenade bomb on him, and I just said, here, Google this. And I kind of just left it at that. And then he calls me back like a day or two. What the heck? So he starts like studying. And we had been going over to Baker prospecting and stuff like that. And David had he was over 2 acres to prospect by himself. And it goes for about a year and a half, yearly. And he's trying to get a hold of David Hudson, you know. So David Hudson's trying to get a hold of David Hudson about this Melchizedek, this Orm stuff, right? So he's like, so, you know, the kid's on the internet scouring the internet for like 6 months trying to find a way to contact David Hudson. And he comes across this guy named Barry Carter. All right. And he realizes that, so he calls him up and finds out that he lives in the same town. So anyways, they hit it off immediately, you know, and so the kid had already been studying for years and years on this stuff. And it was just absolutely, it was perfect, you know. It literally was perfect.
You know, Mark, I love the stories that you told about trying to out-manifest Barry Carter when you went garage sailing. Now, that was his favorite pastime, was to go garage sailing. Tell us how that came, how that was.
Just chill. Do you see that?
Yeah, okay.
Uh-huh. Look at that.
There you go. That's a Barry story.
I've seen that man do stuff. You guys, you old timers who have been around a long time, you know. Okay, mm-hmm. But I've only known him since about 2011, 2012. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna, you know, part of me is like really scientific. I mean, a lot. Okay, like quantum physics, quantum entanglement, time travel. I study that, and I try and do that.
Saying that, do you know Dr. Courtney Brown? Dr. Courtney Brown is a physicist that is using the CIA designed remote viewing system.
Oh, okay.
Just curious if you've heard of him.
Remote viewing to me is harder. I would love to sit here and talk to you about this stuff.
Okay, we're not hearing you well again. Maybe if the rest of us mute, it would be better to hear Mark. Kevin, can you mute? Thank you.
So for me, even though being scientific, I still understood that, you know, life was magical. At the very essence of it, it was magical. And so that's, you know, I went to Barry, and when I met him, I sat back with a scientific view, listening to all this stuff. I'm like, no, there's something else going on here. It's you know, you got to keep that magic aspect to it, like a kid playing the wizards and dragons, you know, like the genies and that kind of stuff. And so that's how I am. That's how I approach it and look at it, you know. And so I'd come to Barry and be like, hey, Barry, I just like time traveled and I could tell what's going to happen today. What is that? Or I'd be thinking about something and I'd look up in the clouds and I'd see it and I'm like, I go to Barry, I'm like, Barry, what is that? You know, or my son and I would be driving down the street and we'd be talking about Barry. I wonder what Barry's doing. He'd just zoom right out in front of us and we'd be like, wow.
Wow.
Just talking about him, he just happened to appear in front of us. Poof. You know, I mean, so to me, I looked at all this like really super magical. It's like, you know, however, if you want to call the vortex of creation, whatever it is, genies, you know, how you can take all this stuff, but mm-hmm. It's the fun, magical playing with it, you know, doing stuff, doing it. That's what I liked.
Yeah. And you guys had a great deal of fun doing that too.
Oh man, it was so awesome.
Yeah. I loved hearing your stories.
Do you remember the story I was telling you about when we were at the flea market in Sumter, when I was telling you about he had mentioned Augustus, and the guy named Augustus had came and sat down with us?
Wow.
Remember that? Okay, so yeah, we were at this garage sale. I was talking about Augustus, in a scene apparently, and with this huge garage sale, like it's this full city. We sit down and have lunch, and we're sitting there in a little tiny town, a huge city, whatever, huge garage sale. The whole entire town is like 4,000 people maybe, and all of it was a garage sale. So we're sitting down at this table, and some old guy walks up next to us and sits down, and they start talking for a while, and Barry asks him his name. He said, my name's Augustus. And well, we had just talked about that on the way to the talking about the Essenes.
I know.
And so Barry elbows me, and he, you know, makes him ask his name again. And so I heard it, and Barry's like, I knew he was showing me something. I was like, okay, right on, man. So anyways, he did that a couple more times that day. I did some of my own stuff together, and he got to see. I got to see, both of us together. It's just fun.
So they used to out manifest each other, and it's really nice to have a good friend here representing that side of Barry. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your story with us.
He's fun, man. I'm serious.
I know. I've been crying. I don't know if it's showing, but I've been crying this whole time.
We go garage selling something, and I find something that I really, really want, and I hold it up and show him, like, haha, Barry, I got this. And he come over and steal it out of my hand and run off and buy it. just so for what he did, I wasn't one up on him. It was all played.
Marla, I think we need to move on to the next segment.
Okay, yeah. All right, that was fun. Thank you guys for inviting me here.
Thank you, Mark.
All of you people.
Thank
Never
you,
got
I really appreciate it. We have one. Okay, who are you? You.
You can call me Happy or Raven.
Raven.
Yeah,
I'm from be a panelist. You're a friend of Barry's?
Yeah. Well, I'm from Iceland.
Wonderful.
I'm in Iceland, and
welcome.
I met Barry. Well, I saw him on YouTube first, and then I added him on Facebook. And he was really helpful, and ORMUS is a part of my awakening. So, and I'm also a member of the biogeometry family.
Yes.
So I have been in Asheville 2 times. Yeah. So.
Me too. Practitioner level studies. We should get awesome.
I've been in New York and Asheville, and we are 2 in Iceland in the biogeometry. Yeah. So and Barry, he added me to the group, the email group. And I'm very curious, and I'm just following all of you guys and learning all the time.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How do you pronounce your name?
It's Hrafnhildur.
Okay.
It means Raven Warrior.
Beautiful. Can we call you Raven?
Yeah, you can.
Welcome, Raven.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everyone. Thank you all. We are very way behind time, so we're going to move some things forward. And what we'd like to do is, Sharon, we'd like to just say a few words to the family from the community before we go on to the next level, to the next session.
Well, I can just say that for all of you who know Barry, can feel Barry, that is his family. His family has this wonderful, wonderful energy. Going there to Baker City, to Barry's memorial, was a profound experience, way more than I expected. So, I'm sorry that all we got to do is meet Kip, and you probably already like him, and he's probably reminds you a lot of Barry, but you just have to magnify that, 5 times, and that's the whole of Barry's family, plus his son and his grandchildren. So I want to thank them for welcoming us, the ORMUS community, and I appreciate that appreciate what they've gone through, and hope that we can help alleviate some of their I don't know if it's pain or sense of loss, because Barry goes on, his spirit moves forward through us.
And we have Debbie Davis is here.
Oh, good.
So could you please raise your hand, Debbie?
I don't see her on my screen.
No, I have to add her. I'm asking her to
Okay.
raise her hand so that I can add her. Debbie Davis. Hello, welcome. We can't hear you. Can you hear her?
No, I can't hear. Debbie, bring your cursor to the bottom of the screen and see if you can turn your mute button on or mute button off. We can't hear you. I'm sorry. No, it's not working.
Okay.
So I'll just mention that Debbie is one of the people who has benefited from the water trap technology that Jim developed. And she has a business called Miracule Water. It is a water filtration plus an ORMUS producing water technology. And she's been around the ORMUS community for many years. Not that she's really active, but you know, she joined us in Baker City last weekend. It was really lovely to meet her.
I'm sorry we can't hear you, Debbie. Would you like to type something and we can read it for you? Type it in the chat. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Thanks you guys for everything. This has been really wonderful. What we want to do is take about a 5-minute break. I'm going to put a song on, not even, just so people can go use the bathroom and do what they need to do. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how we move forward. And there's a lot of exciting things happening. Okay, anything else before we close this session, Sharon? Anyone else would like to say anything? Thomas, would you like to say something? No? Okay, Dr. Robin Mitchell would like to say something. Hi, Robin. Let's see here. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Are you there?
We're here.
I can't see anything. I'm seeing the little small screen, but
We're all here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Am I there?
Yes, you're here. What do you have to say, Robin? We can hear you.
Okay. I just want to say I'm thankful to be part of this ORMUS community. It's only been like a year now that I've been making ORMUS myself. I had other suppliers. I got to talk to Barry a couple times on different issues and things that we had already discussed about that I've listened to here. And I just want to give my blessings and say hi to everybody. And that's all I want to do. Just here to learn and listen and like everyone else. So
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
okay.
Good. Excellent. We are going to I'm going to put a song on just as a little brief one. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to call this next section, The Reign of Good. Okay, because you're going to have about half an hour, and so we're going to be able to have just enough time to share with you all of the amazing things that are in the plans and in the works, and then we'll come back, okay? So I'm going to put a song on for you, and I'll see you in about 5 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Rock on.
Let's see here.
Oops. Down here.
All day the mountains rose behind a veil of smoke from burning fields. And road dust dying black skin bronze, and the road rolling like a rough sea. It's quiet now, just crickets and a dog fight somewhere in the far away. In my heart I hold your photograph, and the thought of you comes on like the feel of the coming rain. Breeze ran its fingers through the long grass of the thatched roof. They stuck me in the only chair they had while they cooked cassava and I left the stand. They asked for one well, 3 lanterns, and 200 liters of fuel, and I said, who, me? And the time for planting's coming soon, and the thought of you comes on like the feel of the coming rain. In the town, neon flickers in the ruins. 7 crows swoop past the luscious moon. If I had wings like those, there'd be no waiting. I'd come panting to your door and slide like some smoke into your room. All day the mountains rose behind a veil of smoke from burning fields. And the road dust dying black skin bronze, and the road rolling like a rough sea. It's quiet now, just crickets and a dog fight somewhere in the far away. In my heart I hold your photograph, and the thought of you comes on like the feel of the coming rain. And the time for planting's coming soon, and the thought of you comes on like the feel of the coming rain.
Okay. We're back. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing fine.
Excellent. Before Jan Dillinger, Thomas, your friend, has a long, I'm going to unmute you. Okay.
Yes, that's Jan Denlinger.
Jan Dinglinger, yes, he has been trying to get on the call but couldn't make it. That's beautiful, Kevin. So I'm going to read what he wrote just so that we have his statement here. Let's see here. Jim had us come and have lunch. We got there and I was told that this is Barry, a friend. He's showing a great, wait a minute, I'm sorry.
He's talking about Jim,
Yeah, go ahead.
who brought us all the magnetic traps, or conceived of it, and he knew Jim before he knew Barry, and it was Jim who introduced Jan to Barry back yonder, and that's how he met him, through Jim. He's got another one of those long stories. Jan is the man who came and spoke about garden shot and super shot, because he had, and Barry was so impressed because he had cabbage heads that were as big as watermelons and radishes the size of grapefruit. And you know, Barry always talked about his giant nuts. So he early on was impressed with Jan's well, it's idahoorganics.com or supershot.com, but I don't know if either of those is up right now. But
idahoorganics.fnc is his company, but his website's not up. But we just wanted to be really brief because we wanted to just acknowledge that he's trying to get on the call.
Oh, absolutely. He's known Barry longer than most of us have, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. So how are you guys doing? How are we? We're almost there. So we wanted to spend quite a bit of time this second hour talking about the future of ORMUS, and we only have 20 minutes now. And we, part of what we're going to do was have you have an opportunity to hear some of these beautiful voices with so much knowledge and wisdom, and we heard a little bit of that in the first part from them. So what we're going to do now is really talk about how we move forward, and I want to share just briefly a little bit of a story about myself and kind of some things that are happening here with me around all of this. Sharon and I had, as I said earlier, we started planning this event before Barry passed away. And in the way ORMUS works now, it's very clear that I'm not sure, Kevin, how you use the words, but I feel almost like some vortex opened up between Kevin and I, and it got me moving in a direction that I wasn't quite sure what was going on until after Barry passed away. And it became very clear that I was being given orders, actually, being pushed to do some things on behalf of this work in the community. And it was very exciting and very exhilarating because, Kevin, I don't know if it was just having the conversation with you, but it felt like my IQ jumped about 20 to 30 points. Like all of a sudden, my ability to handle complexity took a leap, a couple of octaves. And so I was able to, all of a sudden, able to kind of go out and look at all of this information and then gathering it in and have it come into one thing very quickly. And that has never happened before. And then Barry started talking to me. And all of this came about from from all of this, from that. And so I would like to share with you a few things that are huge for me, and I think huge for us as a community. I have been inspired by Barry to turn the alchemy sampler into a social enterprise. And what that means is I'm basically committing my life to work for ORMUS now. I know that some of you have already made that commitment, and I am making that commitment, and it's no small commitment. And it's been several weeks of, wait, what are you asking me? And am I really ready for this? And I am. I'm ready, and I'm very excited, and we have a huge, beautiful community of look at all this wisdom and knowledge that we all get to be a part of. And so I'm very excited to come in and be a part of working with you guys and doing what we all can do to take the beautiful work that Barry has begun the next level. And I'll say one more thing, and then I'll open it up a little bit. Barry was our rock, and he, for most of us, for many of us, especially I've been around the ORMUS community for about 8 years, we didn't realize how much he was our rock until he left. And it's been this like, whoa, what's going back and forth? And it's been very clear in my conversations over the last few weeks with Barry that we have to work together now, as we all know, and we have been coming together. And Barry was our rock, and now we are a garden. And the center of the work now is us, and we are the garden. And if we tend this garden beautifully and with love and intention, we can feed the world, and we all know that. And I am so excited to be on board and on game with that. So the first thing I want to say is we have, as part of changing the alchemy sampler into a social enterprise. And basically what that means, if you don't know what that is it's a business. It's a for-profit business, but it is a for-profit business that is committed to either a social good or to some sort of change or transformation in a community. And therefore it gives a portion of its money towards projects that it expects no money back from. So that's the social part of it. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to take a percentage of everything that the alchemy sampler makes and put it into a fund that we're calling the Alchemy for Life Fund for now. And then we're starting some service projects, which you guys, I am so excited about. I am so excited about. So, and really this is Barry. So the first thing that we're doing, and I want to say thank you to all of the alchemists and producers who've come in to support this project, is we're creating something called Plant the Earth for Barry. Can you see that? Right? And so we're doing this campaign, Plant the Earth for Barry, where we are going to be giving away at cost, at just shipping and handling, some garden ormus and with an instructional guide so that people can go out and plant gardens and use it to plant gardens. It's going to be a 1 to 2 ounce bottle, a little small bottle with some information for them. And we have involved with this project William Bull of ORMUS Tech, Peter May of Windhorse Botanicals, Tim Eck of Eck Tech, and Jan Dinlinger of Idaho Organics, Fertilizer and Compost. And so we're going to be giving this away for people to plant the earth. And we want to ask people to use it to plant gardens. We're asking people to be involved with guerrilla gardening. And what we mean by that is if there's a planter strip in front of a strip mall in your neighborhood, pour some ORMUS on it, throw some seeds on it, and go. And we really want to do this because there was a quote that that one of the people shared, that Phil Marbar shared on Facebook, and I'm just pulling it up because I want to show it to you, tell it to you. He said, in 100 years, when they ask you who inspired you to replant the earth, was it Buckminster Fuller? You'll just smile and say, no, his name was Barry Carter. Thank you for that, Phil. So that really inspired us, and it's really beautiful to see that this vision really actually came. I think it came from Barry. It's like there was a quote, then I read the quote, and then I heard that's what we need to do. And it just so happens that I'm a graphic designer on top of everything else. And so we're going to move forward with this, and we're very, very excited. Would any of the panelists like to say anything? Tom?
I think I'm unmuted.
Yes.
Yes, you're not the only person that Barry has been nagging. Barry has been nagging me about this conference. In fact, that I talked to him about a week before he passed away, and twice that week, and he was very insistent about setting a date and getting it underway, because as you know, we've had some fits and starts about it, and so we'd I've actually gone and planned it, and I'm trying to set some depending, for example, Kevin will come and that gosh, I want to learn some, and those conferences are such a wonderful way to do that. But it was a wonderful thing to get together the first time and to meet many of you in person at the ANOTA conferences, and that's what we hope to do, is to bring to a new generation.
Thank you, Thomas.
The screen name.
We're having connectivity issues with you. So I'm going to, if I may paraphrase, that we are very excited that you are hosting a conference for us in 2019. Thank you. And it's going to be Memorial Day weekend. Is that right? Memorial Day weekend 2019? Yes. Awesome. Great. Thank you.
That's the tentative date.
Kevin, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a background in agriculture. I've been working with a lot of people here in this cannabis movement here with the legalization process.
I will be calling you. Yay!
My background stems from over 30 years of production, and over the last 6-7 years, we've been applying these materials to not just the cannabis, but to all the different growing mediums. I put a link on the chat there to some images and some information that can help people to understand the increase in the cellular reactions that can be tested in plants. And this is very important. We can gauge and monitor these reactions that people are going to feel in their cells and feel in brain interferometry on plant cells. And we can actually physically show these changes, these differentials. And we can use this as a basis for a brand new protocol in production, in agriculture, and then expand these cellular interfaces into the mechanics of engineering. And we can take this into molecular and atomic and expand this into a very, very basic platform that can help children learn what they've been programmed to ignore. And I've discussed this with an atomic physicist named Robert Reynolds. He's a friend on Facebook, and people can look up what Robert Reynolds is doing. He's been taking this into the high school curriculum, into a base level education platform that can be taught to children. And by mechanizing these torsion reactions, we can start learning how to augment them and adapt them and basically apply the imagination of every individual into the mechanics of our new reality and design this based on these reactions. Stop arguing with them, stop ignoring them. What I see science has become is a bunch of madmen standing at the side of a river trying to convince the river it's going the wrong way. So when I took this into, as I said before, I have a very difficult time discussing this in a group forum because I need to tailor the language based on the academic knowledge base. If somebody works in biophysics, I wouldn't talk in mechanical engineering aspects. I would talk about the cellular dynamics, the energetic principles, these changes in molecular chemistry that occur, and basically expand on these into thermodynamics and astrophysics, basically move into electromagnetic functions and transfers of these functions. So for every individual, there is a pathway for learning this. And unfortunately, our school curriculum has ignored this, and we can move back into this now. It's just wonderful. Barry was very open, and he was very understanding of the information that I was receiving was not the information he was receiving. Everybody gets this at a different rate. Everybody has an antenna that has a different level and different frequency. Everyone's brain and body works based on these interactions. So we have to learn to understand that our potential, it can be increased. And by increasing our potential, we can begin to share this understanding in a method that works, that people can actually use, stop arguing about, stop getting carried away with, and applied on a base level that we can survive on.
This is awesome. Thank you, Kevin. This is great. So I want to say we're going to probably go over about 5 to 10 minutes. Is that going to be okay for people? Probably.
Sure.
No, not for you, Sharon. Okay, well, we're going to, in 5 minutes, we're going to do something with Sharon, and then we'll come back, okay? Which brings me to, so Art, I'm going to unmute you. You have 2 minutes, okay? And then we're going to come back around. We're going to have lots of opportunities to talk, but I would like to, you raised your hand. Would you like to share? Yes, thank you.
I think that it's not so much about increasing potential because our potential is already infinite. It's about accessing that. And so when you really get into this substance that we currently call ORMUS, is the name itself, the word that describes as a limiting factor, because it comes out of a model of reality that is very well defined, the fundamental materialist chemist model. And so when we start looking at it from different models that allow for a much bigger box or no box at all, that we try to put stuff in, then we can access that infinite potential that is pre-existent rather than trying to increase the potential. It's accessing the infinite potential that already exists.
As needed. Because you don't want to overwhelm yourself with information. It can be overwhelming.
Right.
Well, I see it as a snowballing effect, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Which, you guys, look at all of this. Look at all of this brain power and all of this knowledge and all of this heart. So I'm going to start a podcast. I'm next generation from you, Dennis. Just call me next generation Marla.
Yeah.
Hopefully not in all aspects. So we're going to have a podcast called The Alchemy Wellspring, which is what we were going to call this call today, right? Remember, Sharon, we were going to call this call The Alchemy Wellspring because we were going to bring some delicious feminine energy, spirituality to the ORMUS community. And so now I'm going to call the podcast The Alchemy Wellspring. So, and you're going to get to hear all of these amazing, beautiful, enlightened souls are going to teach us. So that's another part of the reign of goodness. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I know. We're very, very excited. Very, very excited. Oh my goodness. And you guys, there's 2 more things before we have Bella. I'm going to announce these really quickly, and then after Bella speaks, that Bella is Sharon's beautiful 6-year-old granddaughter, then if you'd like to stay on the call, we can continue if you guys would like to share, but I want to just honor this time. So 2 things before we go on. I'm trying to decide which should I do first. Okay, so the alchemy sampler, so you guys know this is the Scorpio full moon. This is Wesak in many traditions. It's a very sacred time, and many of the alchemists in this community, the people here on as panelists, have decided to get together and create a very special alchemy sampler. What we're going to be doing is making ORMUS this weekend, the Scorpio full moon, from this love and intention that we have set here around this work and our love for Barry. And we're making ORMUS, and they're all gonna send me ORMUS. There's probably gonna be it's looking now about 10 alchemists. And we're gonna put together a very special alchemy sampler with everybody's stuff in it. So it's gonna be very large, probably 9 to 10, 12 alchemists, a beautiful, beautiful product. And I'm so excited about it. And I'm also putting in something very special, which I'm gonna share with you right now. And we'll go from there. Okay, so Steve Johnson, could you please raise your hand? Okay. There you go. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So if you guys don't know Steve, Steve is a member of the ORMUS community and an artist. And I had a harebrained idea and called him up, and he said yes. And we have something very special to share with you. Steve created a portrait of Barry for us going forward. And I'm going to share it with you right now. So hold on just a second. Let's see here.
It's impressionistic.
It's fabulous. Look at that. Isn't it amazing? I'm so excited. Would you like to say anything, Steve?
Well,
oh, that's good.
I usually just, it's impressionistic. And when I started painting it, the one thing that Barry let me know is that he wanted to look young. That's the one thing. And no matter how much I tried to make him look older, it kept looking like probably what I would imagine that he looked like when he started working with ORMUS. That's my assumption. But anyway, it's a labor of love. It's his essence. So the title of it is Of Barry Carter. So thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Hold on. So thank you. I'm going to put that on the website. So Stephen, the thing that's so beautiful about this is the synchronicity. Wouldn't you say, Steve? Like we started talking and it was like we both were carried into this field together, and it was pretty amazing.
I agree. Thank you for contacting me.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we are making prints of this to sell. 100% of the proceeds from the sale of the print, we're doing a small print and a large print. 100% of the sales of the proceeds will go in a fund, the Alchemy for Life Fund, to continue this work. And we're very excited about it. And that's also going to be on the website very shortly. And I think that's it before we have Bella, and then we'll when we finish with Bella, we can continue. But the reason why I asked Sharon, to have Bella here is this too is alchemy, right? Us being here is a blend of all of our energies. And it felt important to have a child who was an Ormus baby to say a few words to close us, and then we'll continue. So thank you, Bella. We're so happy that you could join us.
Hi. Bella is one of my 3 grandchildren. She's the youngest. They're all Ormus babies. Barry created the live oil, and my oldest daughter, I made it for her when she was pregnant with my grandson, who's now 13. And he and I started communicating before he was born. The live oil is certainly powerful enough when you are, pregnant. It doesn't need to be knock your socks off kind of stuff. And then the middle child, she was born on 2 years later. She's 11 now. And her mom was too far away at the time, and she wouldn't make it herself, but she did get live oil. Bella's mom got live oil when she was pregnant. And then I created a salve for her instead of like a diaper cream. We made an Ormus salve out of the live oil, and she's been using it ever since. And what we were going to say is, what you think about grows. You're not going to say it? No. Okay. She's shy. She's only 6.
Thank you. Thank you, Bella. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, thank you, everybody. So we're going to stay if you'd like to stay. We know
See you, Bella.
But we want to say thank you. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Lots of beautiful changes going on here. Go to the Alchemy Sampler website. It'll all be on there in the next few hours. And I want to just say thank you. It's a really wonderful time that we have here, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I know that I'm committed, and I'm very, very excited. Yay. Thank you, everybody. Excellent. Okay, so who'd like to say anything? I'm here.
Yeah, I will. There's one thing that's happened in the ORMUS community over time, and that is the perception somehow, the promotion of ORMUS and the results that people get and the benefits they have in their lives and the fantastic things that happen for them when they have ORMUS is somehow bad. Well, I disagree. I disagree strongly. And over the years, I've shared on the ORMUS forums fantastic benefits that people have had. And I encourage you to put more of them. Look, I know what radio station you listen to. It's WIIFM. What's in it for me? And that's exactly how I coached you, Thomas, and you, Peter, and every other guest that I had on the live alchemy calls. Just speak to results that people get from having your stuff. Yeah? Speak to the experiences that people have. And I just tried to post a couple yesterday, but for some reason they're not showing up they're showing up on the white gold list, but not on the main ORMUS list. So I don't know what that is. We'll have to figure that out. But in my opinion, we need to be going straight to what people want in their lives, which is more upliftment, more what people call vaguely spirituality, more of what people want, which is happiness and well-being and relief from their difficulties. Now, I make a specific batch for that. It's called self-regeneration. That's the one that's most associated with healing. And I make another one specifically for abundance called Mother of Abundance. And there's a whole bunch of other. My point here is this. We need to have a culture of celebration of people's results and benefits in the ORMUS community. So that's my little speech for now. As you know, I always have lots of stuff to talk about, but that's it for now. And I'm loving this little get together because otherwise it wouldn't have happened, would it? Think about it. Back to you, Marla.
What did you say?
Back to you, Marla. And by the way, not last thing. Marla has a background in graphic design and promotion. She's a star in this thing. So we need to be supporting. I'm going to support you, sweetheart, as best I can. All right. Yeah. Back to you.
Excellent. Thank you. So why don't we, it seems like a lot of people have stayed around, why don't we go around the circle then and hear a little bit more from the people who are going to be in the podcast. Before I call on you guys, I'd like to say that I feel it's really important for us to do this because in the conversations that we've been having, it's very clear that we need to teach people how to responsibly work with ORMUS and to move into a relationship with it that is beneficial and that is can be coherent and not knock their lives into complete chaos. In there, we know that can happen because ORMUS is really its life force, and if you're not ready for it, it's trying to make you live. It's trying to give you life. And the thing I've been thinking about it a lot lately is, how much life can you handle? Really, because that's really what happens is how much life can you handle, and because ORMUS is going to give it to you.
Well, the pathway through this then seems perfectly clear, and that would be agriculture.
Yes.
So it allows the transfer of the materials into the plants, and then it allows for the absorption of the minerals through the natural organic plant acidification. Basically, I've had such a difficulty explaining ORMUS to people that weren't receptive. No one is non-receptive to good food. When you can provide something that anyone can test and allow them to test it themselves, they're going to feel like a creator. I mean, simply by growing a very vibrant garden, that is creation. When you're growing your own food and the bees are coming in and flocking to your flowers more than anything else, the bees can see the electromagnetic equivalence that is now a dynamic part of that cellular structure. So with this, we have a pathway for not just healing people, but providing a natural solution for agriculture. And more than that, this is very important. I've had some very technical people testing my ORMUS due to my ability to communicate directly to them in their specific field of study. And what this has allowed me to do is have specific genetic testing done on GMO seed products. Now, when I'm told by physicists and biosensitive people that are actually testing this in lab conditions, and they're telling me that the GMO pathogenic material that's been bonded to the plant proteins are coming apart like a zipper unraveling. The DNA is just coming apart, while the healthy heritage genetic DNA, that ancient DNA, is reciprocating at a highly vibrant rate, up to 300% more, and it just overtakes the bridges and bonds and grows around this pathogenic tissue. So the viral and bacterial phages that are bonded to all of this GMO material, this Roundup Ready crop that's really getting people sick. It's not the wheat, it's not the soy, it's what it's been turned into. And these modified genetic programs that have basically affected every living being on Earth through the food chain, they can be inverted. And this is so important. It gives hope to everybody. We're not stuck, guys. We're not caught in the backward ages. We're not now led by a leash by our masters and going wherever the hell they tell us. That's done. We can change the $500 billion strategic initiative that was done by Monsanto to change food and human beings on this planet. We can do this, and it's happening already.
Yes, we can. We can do it. We can. I totally believe it too.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
And I've been showing the pictures. I put a couple links in the chat to pictures online. Oh, sorry. And the photos speak 1,000 words. I mean, they allowed me to move past the nomenclature, trying to convince people. The one thing I can't share is the essence coming off of this fruit and the food that's been growing. You can't explain when you can smell the strawberries from 15 feet away, just powerful and sweet. It's just nothing like I ever experienced. And I've been involved in agriculture and growing food since I was very young. This is something all kids should be doing in school. It should be provided as a pathway for us. So ORMUS is a big part of that, and it will help really bridge the medical, bioelectrical, physiological experience that is associated with biochemistry. We're going to be able to understand the energetic transfer and how this increases thought wave function as magnetic wave interactions. I mean, this is just remarkable. We're just on the cutting edge of basically taking this classified, industrialized technology and breaking it down into basic form so that everybody can start utilizing this and providing themselves with the electromagnetic means for their homes, utilizing this for their own food production, creating the frequencies around them that allow their own cells to heal in their homes, just as the pyramidal vibrations did. So we can take this backwards and forwards at the same time, just bridge time through these materials, and that's what they are. This is what they are. So fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Yeah, and obviously you embody it because you gave me a transmission that set all of this in motion.
It's almost like smell. How do you explain a smell to somebody without a nose? There is a pathway here, as our brains are interferometric transceivers. That means we're absorbing information, we're qualifying that, and we're sending information out based on our perception. And we're doing this constantly, whether we're awake or asleep. But when we go to sleep, our brainwave changes, and the harmonic structure of our brain starts to synchronize with the natural vibrations around us. We start to send information through space and receive it and communicate through that state. And as we start to bridge the differentials between what's been termed metaphysics and learn that it's all physics, it's all transitions of energetic functions, we will be able to learn to communicate like Doppler radar through space. And this is how I see the information transfer occurring, because what I gained, I virtually learned electromagnetic engineering and propulsion dynamics overnight with no study. I mean, I was panicking with the information. I was actually overwhelmed, and I thought I'd have to go back to school. I thought I was going to spend decades and decades in research, and no, that all just went away. The information just comes, and now we can ignore it, or we can choose to identify it and then really start to analyze it and see how we can use it. I know I'll be able to use things in a different manner than other people, and it's really based on our own individual perception and our own access to information and technology and equipment that we can use to test it. Because like everyone knows, or most people know, Nikola Tesla was digging ditches before George Westinghouse helped him out of it. I mean, he needed a helping hand because he didn't have the structure and the engineering to do what he saw in his mind. But he started to work towards it, as unfortunate as his history was. It was really dynamic what he did with all the impediments that he had. So I'm hopeful we can take that past, and we can take this understanding of these energetic transfers, polar magnetism and gravity, and really start to investigate this in a way that leaves us with open wonder as a child. Like when we first discover our first electrostatic spark, we shock ourselves. I mean, I love that. I lost my mind with that. I still remember it. It was amazing. We have to get back to that childlike wonder and investigate our reality again. Absolutely. And this is what this allows us to do, to become masters of our domain and explore it. Like scientists, like children, just like investigative of our own reality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, Kevin, because That's you are so that resonance, you carry that resonance so clearly, so solidly, that you did. It transferred to me, and literally I had that same experience. I mean, anything I wanted to know, I just kind of would put it out in the net, and it would literally, I would see it coming back.
Yeah. I you know what's amazing is I was actually contacted by a physicist, a fellow named Joseph Tills. And you can actually find this fellow with a fellow named Martin Berger. They're involved in removing gold from beer bottle glass using microwave plasma systems. And you can just type in removing gold from glass using microwaves, and you'll be able to find the YouTube links on this. Joseph Tills contacted me after trying my Ormus. It was available in a few dispensaries here in Victoria for a time. And after he tried it, I didn't realize this. He had 30 years experience with Ormus. He'd been all over the world testing it. And he said the materials that I had just sitting on the shelf of the dispensary, it blew his mind. Within 15 minutes, he had the store owner call me at home, and I drove into Victoria to have a meeting with this fellow. He had this, it was a Russian scalar rife type of device that hooked to a computer system, and it mapped the entire body, every cell, every bacterium on your skin. It basically put a laser through your brain that tied into your body's electromagnetic wave, and you could slice the body into molecular size slices, investigate the organs, the brains, the nerves. I watched the bacterium on my skin around my hair follicles. I mean, it was just amazing. So he started showing me my brain, and when he showed me my brain, he really had an experience. I didn't realize what was so exciting until he compared my scan to several hundred others, several thousand that were on file on this device. And he said that my entire frontal lobe, my cortex, was lit right up, almost like I was in perpetual dream state. And I started laughing because, okay, that would explain this then. It would explain what's been happening and how the information starts to come almost as through a subconscious feed. But to be able to see this on the device, to actually be able to see the electromagnetic reactions that were occurring. In fact, he pinged me with the laser interferometer in the system to see if he could activate any more markers in my brain, and he activated several more. So the level of the difference was that most people were activated in around a 10 to 12 range. 13 to 15 was very high. This was where he showed me several dozen mapped brains of academics and physicists, because he had gone to several universities and worked with many university professionals. And what he showed me was 34 active markers, and he'd never seen anything like that before. I, at that point, had been taking the Ormus that we make here for almost 2 years, and I have to say that it was after 18 months taking these materials that my dream state changed, and I underwent some serious life changes. Information, acute dream state realization, being able to map your dream or your information before you go to sleep, and then create almost like creating a film in front of you and falling into that. That's what I've started doing. It was retention from that, because retaining the information and bringing it back was the most difficult part. My most vivid interactions were through what I learned through the electromagnetic diagrams that were really pushed on me very hard. This was my pathway for transforming our sick and toxic reality here and changing our shift in propulsion dynamics into understanding the field of force that moved water. And when we understand that based on the hydroelectric perspective, where moving water spins the dynamos in all of our dams, we have to ask ourselves, what's moving the water? And the answer is gravity. And I was shown very, very simple ways for people to begin to test this and build their own dynamos. And this can't be given to people. This has to be done from an individual perspective, because we cannot give free energy to people that will not use it effectively, that do not take the time to investigate it and learn how this removes money, learn how this removes the control of the corporations, the control that the governments have imposed on people. This starts to bring our ability as human beings to transform our reality on such a dynamic level that it cannot be ignored. And if we give this away to people and just start making this, here, have a dynamo here. Okay, you got free power, you get free power. We're going to have a lot of people cracking more beer and watching a lot more football rather than applying these energetic functions.
Things I'd like to say before I go.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
From the holographic perspective, the microcosm that we are has the ability to activate all of its links with the macrocosm. And that's what ORMUS catalyzes. And that's what we need to study and research, find out how it does that, why it does that, all that stuff about that in a scientific discipline fashion.
Yes.
So that we build a creditable database of actual facts that have been verified independently, not just from one person saying, here's this really cool stuff, but by people that have the disciplined approach to take that disciplined approach into the realm of this substance and this family of substances and find out what it actually has in terms of the potential for realizing our oneness with the universe. So I'll leave you with that. I got to go, and it's been really a lot of fun, and we'll see you all next time.
Fabulous. Thank you, Art. So Art is one of the people you guys are going to be hearing. And before you leave, Art, I just want to say while you're here, Art is a huge gift to this community. Huge. His depth and knowledge of Siddha medicine is something that is going to be very important for us going forward as we try to bring understanding of these substances to the world. Thank you, Art, for being who you are and for showing up, and I'm very excited.
Well, thanks for having me on the panel. I appreciate it.
We're going to be having lots of conversations. Thank you.
I have some great papers for you, Art, that are deal with dark matter, photon spectrometry that you can have a look at that are just astounding, and they're from the University of Germany and some high Berkeley, California, et cetera. So there is information, exactly what you're talking about. It's fantastic and high level, and basically ties in the ground level agriculture into the highest levels of academia involved today. So there's a pathway.
Okay. You take care.
Fabulous. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you. So I'm just doing a time check. It's 4:25 now. I want to respect everyone's time and energy. So why don't we say maybe 10, 15 more minutes tops, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Before everyone leaves, can I ask that you put your contact details on the link, on the text? Yeah? That way we can contact each other in real time, right now. Old contacts.
Okay, so what I will do is I will be sending out an email follow-up from this call to everyone who is on the call. I will also be putting up a page on the Alchemy Sampler website that shares all of the information that we've gone through on this call, including bios of the panelists. So please give me your bio if I don't have it. Yeah, anything else? Mark, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to tell you guys a joke real quick. All right, so Barry lived on Balm Street, okay? Can you hear me? Everybody hear me? Yeah, okay. So he lived on Balm Street. He used to tell me that ORMUS made really good lip balm. But don't tell the government they were making bombs.
Exactly. Yeah. I wanted to tickle
One of his crazy puns.
Thank you. Thomas.
Well, I meant to ask Kip when he was on the call whether he really did have a brother that the hogs ate, because Barry used to say, I haven't had so much fun since his hogs ate my brother. I want to see whether that was true.
No, he didn't eat me, but it sure hurt.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you. Would anyone else like to say anything else before we close? Mickey. I'm going to unmute you. There you go.
Hello. I just, before we go, want to also say thank you to you. It was lovely of you to put this together for us, and it's great of you to be this, like a magnet that is holding us together at the moment. That's not easy, and you've managed it, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. I loved it, and it's the vibration of it is going to be feeding my soul for a while. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Marla.
Anyone else? No, we're done? Are we done?
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, my friend.
I think we're as done as we're ever going to be. It's just been fantastic, Marla.
We're all in the glow.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a really amazing journey for me. It started with my initiation via Kevin and has been quite an interesting and amazing journey. And I'm so excited to commit my life to help you guys in your commitment. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to plant the earth for Barry.
Yes.
You know, I was at an event 2 weeks ago, week before last, and last week, Earth Day, it was Earth Day event. And I stood up and I told people that I told them about Barry Carter, and I asked them if they'd known him, and nobody did. And I said, this is a man you will know. You will know him. Yes. And I shared a little bit about him. And like 4 people came, like people were like writing it down, like what's his name again and where do I need to go? So the time is here, and we are going to make sure that the world knows that Barry did a great thing for us, because he did. The contribution that he made to the planet is huge.
Yes.
You guys know it, but the planet doesn't. And so we're here to pick up the baton and take it the next step to build a garden around that rock. Right? So thank you all, and thank you for your love and support. It really means so much to me. It really, Thomas, you have been so amazing. Thank you. And you too, Dennis. Yeah. And Stephen. Steve.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Mickey, it goes without saying, my friend. You have been such a beautiful support. Thank you. And Kevin. Nice to meet you, Mark. Thank you. And you, Raven. Kip, thank you so much.
Carter. What a treat. What an absolute treat.
Yeah.
Kip, we're sending you loving energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mickey.
Thank you. It is such a major thing for you to have done, to come and be with us for this. I appreciate it so much.
This is great.
It's really great.
It is. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you once again to Josh Mittendorf. He made that beautiful PowerPoint that I'm going to go ahead and post on the website and on social media. So we've got lots of goodness, lots and lots of goodness ahead. So stay in touch. The Alchemy Sampler website will have all kinds of wonderful information. Thank you all. Thank you. Take good care. Bye. Thank you, Robin. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Adios.
Adieu.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.